So I did manage to read quite a few books. But one of them I'll talk about really quick. We had a Discord book club yesterday. So if you're a member of our Discord, you can join this very exclusive club of book club members where we, pick a book and then we talk about it like once a month, which is really fun.
This very exclusive club that anyone can join.
Anyone can join. I mean, I'm just saying it takes a little bit of effort to get there. But yeah, it's a cool bunch of folks where we pick out a book and we talk. And this month we talked about KARMEN. This is by Gilliam March. It's an Image comic book that was published a little while ago. And you probably saw the cover for this book, right? There's like a woman with pink hair and she's got like a black silhouetted body, but a skeleton is visible inside of her. It's a really, really cool looking book. And I was really interested to read it because it's been on my radar for a while. Like the covers for this book were very, very like iconic. And I remember seeing them, but I never actually picked up the book. And I don't know why. And so it was really cool to sit down and read. I will say a quick content warning for this book. There is a big focus on like self-harm and death in this book. So if that's something that's not your jam, definitely avoid, maybe skip past this, use the chapters in this episode to skip past this discussion. But yeah, there's a lot of talk of death and this question of like, what is life? What happens after we die? What is the point of life if not for living it? As we follow this girl who is in this dreamlike state. And this woman named KARMEN has shown up to essentially like ferry her around the real world in this dreamlike state to try to teach her some lessons, I want to say, but like in like a very like, you need to value the things that you took for granted in life. But is she dead? That's kind of like the big question at the center of the book.
So it's the Ebenezer Scrooge treatment.
I was going to get to a point that the fact that the main character of this book definitely says, am I in the Christmas Carol? And she mentioned how she's never read the book, but she's seen Muppets Christmas Carol a dozen times.
The only Christmas Carol worth watching is Muppets Christmas Carol.
Exactly. But yeah, so I want to shout out to Ricardo and Tom for sitting down yesterday and talking about this book with me. It was really, really cool. I will say there's a lot of nudity in this book. The main character, when she is in this dreamlike state, she was in the state that she was when she fell into it, which was nude. So she is nude throughout the whole book. And it felt kind of gazy at times, right? Like very kind of male gazy in the way that she's just kind of drawn in those stereotypical shots behind like a woman's waist, where you can just see like the outline of her body and stuff. But of course she's nude, so it's just like a naked butt. But I also felt like a lot of this book was an exploration of like the human body in motion, right? Like where you go, if someone, if you were an artist and you were working on your craft, you would maybe go to like a life drawing thing where you sit in a circle around like a nude model to try to just like draw the folds and the way that the body kind of shapes itself. And I felt like March in this book, while he had moments where he was kind of showing this woman in like a gazy way, a lot of her portrayal in this book is like swimming through the sky, and like the human body looks really weird when it's like moving. And he did a lot to like show our main character Kata kind of like in situations where like her arms are folding over her body because she's embarrassed early in the book about being naked out in public, even though no one can see her. And so like there's a lot of like hands over body and like her scrunching herself up and kind of sitting, and as she moves around, he definitely tried to, I feel like, get as much expression and movement out of her body as possible. Maybe 20 pages, you kind of ignore the fact that she is naked, and the story really starts to root in as to what KARMEN is trying to do as she's this dream journeyer, like kind of person who has come to check up on our main character Kata and escort her through this dreamlike state that she's in. And I really don't want to reveal any spoilers here, but this book has like a lot to say about like death and life and the meaning of things and the meaning of relationships that I really thought was interesting. I think the discussion we had yesterday was really great because kind of pointed out that while Gilliam March isn't doing anything like revolutionary with this book, there is a good core message at the center of it. And I don't know, overall, it was a really good read from like start to finish. Like I got about 50 or 60 pages in thinking that I was still at the beginning of the book, not realizing that I'd just been flying through the pages. And I think the last thing I'll say about this book that I really, really loved was Gilliam March definitely has like a city that he worked in that he modeled for this entire book. Like he essentially took this entire 5-issue series and said, I'm going to draw every square inch of this one Spanish city. And he did, because half the book is our main character Kata just flying around, and she's not even on the page, as he's doing like full page or 2-page spreads of like just beautiful aspects of this Spanish town that she lives in. Right on the coast. It's absolutely gorgeous. Like his artwork alone, just in the cityscapes and the way that he portrays like everyday average people just kind of going about their lives, is beautiful. He does a lot of like really interesting things with perspective in this book that I thought was unique. Like he was really trying to flex on the page and say like, yeah, I could have drawn everything kind of straight on standard, film, angles and stuff. But instead he does like a lot of stuff with fisheye lens, a lot of stuff with like curved perspective, as if like you're looking at things through like a glass of water or something. A lot of like upside down cityscape shots that kind of like mess with your brain as you're kind of flipping through the pages. So from a perspective of like just looking at some really beautiful art, this book is great. The story is like 4 out of 5. I think it's really good. I think the message is solid. Like again, it's not groundbreaking, but it's still like a really good read from start to finish. So if you're looking for something to kind of like off the beaten path, this feels very, very, very European, but that's because the guy who made it is deeply steeped in like Spanish culture. So I'm not surprised there. But yeah, it's really, really good. I liked it. Did you guys by chance have you heard of this book? Have you seen this book before?
I've definitely heard of the book. I've read a couple other things that March has done at big publishers, and his sort of style and his flair and his artistic talent always were just immediately present. So the idea that he was going off and doing something non-Big Two and something that he was sort of helming himself was interesting. But but I never really got much insight into like what exactly the book was about, although it sounds like from what you said it's just because it's like it's tackling a whole bunch of things, so maybe it's a little difficult to succinctly describe it.
Like I said, it's a quick read. Like I'm surprised how fast I got through it. So